On my deconstructing journey, I was promised that science and philosophy and logic and reasoning could be a safe house for me, that it was a place that I could go to get reprieve from the horrors of humanity that was found in organized religion. And so I went. I visited this house and I did find reprieve there. But then I noticed there were termites in the foundation. The walls were falling apart. The foundation was crumbling beneath my feet. This house was not a place that I could linger in. It had its own problems that religion had. Why? How? How is this possible? If not science and logic and philosophy and reasoning, then what? Let's talk about that today. Hold on, my cat's meowing at the door. I'm in the middle of recording something, Doug. This is my cat. Black Cat's Halloween. That's how I roll. Mwah. Happy Halloween. In the spirit of Halloween, I decided to bring to your attention today Dr. Frankenstein and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. These two books so eloquently stated for me the problem that I have with relying on science as a substitute for Christ. If you have not read Frankenstein before, the story in a nutshell is about a young scientist who becomes obsessed with the idea of creating life and furthering his field and understanding of knowledge. He creates this creature who we call Frankenstein, but that's not what the creature's name is. It's called Fiend for most of the book. He creates life and basically like, oh my God, what have I done? This thing is awful. I have unleashed this horrible thing on humanity. And then he spends most of the novel running away from the thing that he did, which is humanity in a nutshell, right? That is Adam and Eve in the garden. Humanity is so obsessed with creating new things for the sake of furthering fields, for the sake of furthering someone's name, for pride, for fame, for riches, for glory. And then sometimes we end up unleashing a monster on society. Let's take technology for an example, right? Social media and cell phones. Those were supposed to make our lives better, and one could argue they are making our lives worse. AI. One could argue that it was supposed to make things easier for us, and then in some instances, it's making life worse. This book wrestles with the idea that just because science is meant to be something maybe more neutral, not necessarily moral, it doesn't mean that it's always going to be moral. You cannot remove immorality from the spirit of science. That is how we ended up with the atomic bomb, right? So that is part of one of the many reasons why I can't buy in as science for a substitute for God. The other part of that, which was so beautifully illustrated in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Dr. Jekyll realizes that within each of us are a set of twins, and these forces cannot be separated from one another. They are constantly fighting one another. And so he thought to himself, well, what if I create some sort of potion, some sort of medicine to remove this entity from my body so that I could be fully upright and this creature can go and live its life and be as immoral as it wants to. So he takes the potion and Mr. Hyde exists. Mr. Hyde goes and lives out its life, and the more that Mr. Hyde is alive and out doing its thing in society, the more that Jekyll realizes how good it feels to be Mr. Hyde. It is so amazing to just have untethered access to the part of you that just wants to explore the fullness of its evil nature. No more does he have to restrain that part of him that wants access to its evil nature. Now it can just exist. But then eventually, Hyde creates problems for Dr. Jekyll, and he becomes terrified that the consequences of Hyde's actions will ultimately impact him. And they do. I don't want to give away what happens in the story because I hope that you will read this book. But towards the end of the novel, we see that Dr. Jekyll cannot get away from the consequences of his actions, from the consequences of his bad choices. Just as Victor Frankenstein could not get away from the consequences of his actions. The point that I'm trying to make is that science cannot account for the condition of the human heart. Science cannot fix the duality of man and our desire to want to drive the car off the cliff. Where does that come from? And no matter how hard we try to be good, we can't. And so that's what Christ comes in for. Christ says, hey, by me doing what I'm doing, I am giving you the power of the Holy Spirit. And by the power of the Holy Spirit, I'm giving you power or an antidote to the forces within you that wants to destroy, that cannot help but destroy. And I know this sounds like, hey, let's bring in the unicorns. I cannot deny the power of what I have seen the Holy Spirit doing in my life. There have been times where I have prayed very specific prayers to God, and another believer who knows nothing about my circumstances, who knows nothing about me, who knows nothing about those prayers, would relay to a T the prayers that I had prayed to God, providing me answers to those prayers. How do you account for that? By the power of the Holy Spirit, which I have seen active in my life and in other people's lives, we have hope. Science cannot give me hope for the condition of mankind. Can science find an antidote to eliminate the evil within us, just as Dr. Jekyll did? And if so, how's that going to work? Can science create a new form of life that's going to keep it from destroying humanity? I doubt it. Science will always be corrupted because it's at the mercy of the people who are maintaining it. Just as religion will always be corrupted because it is at the mercy of the individuals who are upholding it. So what hope do we have? I don't know. What do you think? All right. Well, that's it for today. Thank you so much for being here. And I will see you guys next time. Peace, love, and Jesus.